So it's good.
All right.
We up?
So we're back. This is episode
Hold on.
70 something. I don't even.
Put
Jesus
filler
Christ.
content, Joe. Filler content. Well, give me a second. Go. 75. Yeah, 75.
So
October
we
6th.
are back, and I know last time we talked about a 3-camera shoot that just turned into a total shit show, and we're back trying to do another 3-camera shoot that hopefully won't turn into a shit show because I think I knew some of the stuff that we did wrong. So we have the GoPro on you, we have the Canon on me, and we have the Insta360 doing supposedly the Insta360 thing.
Blocking both of our view from seeing each
Now,
other.
if I have to guess, we'll get an hour out of the Canon.
Okay.
We'll get about 30 seconds out of the GoPro before it melts down.
Yeah.
And the Insta should work. And I think last time what happened was I had voice and the waving, the hand gesture control on.
And you turned it off.
So we started that camera, and like the first 4 minutes, it recorded, and then it shut off, and we didn't notice it. And I'm assuming that we either said something that triggered turning it off, or I waved and it turned off, or something. So I killed the hand gesture. So we'll see what happens with that. I still have no idea how we put a 360 video up on YouTube because I've never done it yet, but this will be the first time.
Great. Well, thank you for the explanation.
That's the hardware setup, and the cool thing is when I wave my hands like this, you'll actually see all of this horseshit, right? So when I point, you'll actually, in theory, you might actually see it.
Well, you're not that. You can't see
on YouTube. Well, this is recording 360,
yeah,
so
yeah.
you'll see everything. You'll see the snake. You'll see it all.
Yeah. Hopefully, no sensitive content.
So, yeah, I always worry about that. Well, there's a Trump hat, so I guess everybody will be pissed about that. But anyway, that's the hardware setup. So we are off and running. Audio's recording. I'm always worried now that I'm missing something because it's not like you just push one button and everything just instantly goes on.
It's good because it just made me even more motivated last time when I told you. I was like, I think I'm going to get a camera. So
yeah, I know.
I think I would try. I was going to wait until like closer to Black Friday, see if there's any good deals. Because typically with like that stuff, they always say like two things. Like wait for a good deal to come around and like never buy a new camera. I don't know if we're going to buy a new one or a used one, but we'll see what happens. So I'm trying to think, like, maybe we put it over here. Or, like, do we, like, how would that change the dynamic? You know what I mean? Like, what?
It depends on the focal range. But, yeah, we could certainly do that.
Yeah, I know you texted me. You were like, I'm not going to talk you out of it or anything like that.
No, I mean, that would be really cool. Obviously, the more the better, right? We've already got a gazillion cameras, but they're all sort of the wrong one. I still think the Canon... I mean, we know for a fact, right, the Canon will go the full hour. It has a hard shut-off at an hour, which could be good or bad, right? Because we could just shorten the podcast to under an hour and we'd be fine. This camera we probably should use for getting both of us because we know it's rock solid. This one really is solid and it'll last. But with the Insta360, we have to give it a fair shake because this will be the first time that we're actually using it for potentially a full hour, and we'll see if it makes it before it overheats and dies. But anyway, so that's it.
We'll see what it's shaking with. Hopefully good stuff.
That's kind of where we're at with that. And then we obviously had the clothing drop, which crushed it, right?
We have so I guess let's take it back because it's been a while. So I guess on the 4th of October, a couple days before we shot the last one, or right around when we shot the last one.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago, right?
Yeah, the clothing dropped. It was a good major success, which was on a Friday. Sold out of all the t-shirts, so thank you to everyone who supported.
Yes.
Then Saturday we linked up for what we call a notebook session. I sent you some of the pictures from that session, which turned out incredible. We got a bunch of good content from that. Essentially what it is just a group of people getting together, whether it be, artists or clothing designers or graphic design people, photographers. It's just kind of like a mixed... I don't know what you would want to call it. Like a think tank.
Yeah, think tank session.
Exactly, and you just kind of get together, and then the people with the video cameras are like, hey, we didn't get content. The other guys are like, well, we need content, so it just end up working out, and it's pretty cool, so we're trying to dial that in a little bit. And then fast forward to last weekend, was just like kind of like trying to gather our thoughts from like everything that happened, and then... Now, like this week was another busy week for me. You said it was kind of more of a chill week for your, I guess, calm before the storm coming up. But yeah, like this week I was I told Joe I was in San Francisco. I flew in Wednesday morning, and by Thursday morning I flew out. So I was there for literally 24 hours.
Holy shit! I didn't realize you were only going in for like a day.
So that wasn't the plan, right? So like Wednesday I was supposed to go in the morning. Thursday I was going to work. Then Thursday night at like 11:30 Pacific time, 2:30 Eastern time, I was going to fly home. I got there on Wednesday earlier than I thought, which never really happens, but I got there 30 minutes early or something like that. And I called the guy I was supposed to go to work with, and I was just like, hey, are you around today? And he was like, yeah, come over. And I was like, all right. Went over there Wednesday after my flight, got all the work done Wednesday, and then I called up United and was like, hey, I need a flight back home. Is there anything you guys could do for me? There's one tomorrow. You're going to be sitting in the middle. I'm like, damn. I was like, but they were like, I can upgrade you to a better, like I flew, it was my first time flying Economy Plus. So I was like, let's go, like more legroom, but I was sitting in the middle. But yes, it was literally like 24 hours. I was in and out of California, which took its toll on me, man. I was beat. Like I was literally up for like 36 something hours.
So you didn't stay and just chill out?
Nah, I wanted to get done. I've been to California before, and I think the next time I'll stay and kind of enjoy it a little bit more. I really just was there like with the sole purpose, like I need to get this work done. I want to go home. It's just like the week before.
We've all been there. It's funny when you travel for a living. You're more inclined to just get home as quickly as possible.
And that's exactly right.
Stay and it comes and goes. I have waves. We talked about this before, right? Where sometimes I like to, spend some extra time and do something, and then other times I'm like, like you, I just, get me in and get me the hell home
as fast as possible.
So, but California, that sucks, man. That's
it was a long
That's
flight.
Freaking 5.5, 6 hours each way, and with the time change, that can mess with you.
And the worst part was, so I did get the upgraded seat, but I don't know how it works with the way you board. So you have like 1, 2, 3, 4 boarding. So I was on the fourth wave of boarding, even though my seat was close to the front, which I still don't understand the process. But long story short, I was there. It got to like group 2, in between group 2 and group 3. They're like, all right, everyone from this point forward, you're checking bags. And I'm like, no, because I know getting bags from Philly is like the worst thing in the world. And to my luck, we get to Philly, we get down to the baggage claim. Dude, the carousel's stuck. So they're like, we're sending a technician over to Carousel 2, San Francisco. They were like, we're going to redirect to Carousel 3. So then there was 3 planes on that one Carousel 3 going around. So it was like, whatever, you have like Chicago, whatever, and then San Francisco. And I'm like, dude, I just want to go home right now. I don't want to deal with any of this stuff. But yeah, the trip was good. I always get like a staple on the West Coast is In-N-Out, so I had to go get In-N-Out. Destroyed my insides.
So I do want to talk to you about that because I saw it on Instagram, and I was going to say something, but you obviously are a person who has had Five Guys and now In-N-Out, because I've never had In-N-Out ever.
Really? I had it like a couple years ago.
But everybody says, In-N-Out's the best, and I'm like, no, Five Guys is the best. So what is your take on that?
No, so I think I'm glad you asked this because for some reason, out of all the pictures I posted, the In-N-Out post was like the most targeted one. Like people I've never talked to in a minute, like my mom's friends are like messaging me like, someone said mid, and I was like, you're in your 50s. What are you calling this mid? Anyway, no, that's besides the point, right? In-N-Out is good for 2 reasons. Because it's good quality and it's cheap as shit. So you get like great quality, cheap as anything, and you're in California, so everything's naturally super expensive. So you're getting a cheaper thing. But to finish the thought, is it better than Five Guys burger perspective? It's gonna be tough, man. It's really like if I could say like factoring everything in, like if I were to say burger to burger, they're pretty much even. But if I were to factor in price, etc., I'm going to give Five Guys a slight advantage for availability, but a disadvantage for just like how expensive it is.
Yeah. Five Guys is fucking ridiculous.
Because, I got double animal. Taylor called me a fat ass when I said it because I know the whole order is like a long thing. So it's double animal style with like everything on it, like lettuce, tomato, onion. And then I got fries, animal style, and then a chocolate shake. Or whatever. It was $14.
The one you took a picture of is like their biggest burger? Because it didn't look all that
No,
big.
so that's a double. There's like a 4x4, which is 4 patties on there. You could do, I think, 4 patties.
Is it kind of like a White Castle where it's a little like a slider kind of deal? And
no, it's a full-size burger.
Some web results. I can show them if you ask again from your iPhone.
We're getting taken over by the Elon Musk robots are coming in.
No, it's Amazon.
They're full size burgers. You get like a potato bun.
Okay, because it didn't look big. Pictures it's hard to tell sometimes.
Let me see.
That's funny though, because obviously everybody on the it doesn't.
Maybe big trip.
Because of the fact that it's in that wrapper thing, it's harder to tell. Whatever.
Showing the 360 cam, see if it pops up. But yeah, it was delicious, man. Their fries are not the best. They're just
Five Guys fries are absolutely the bomb.
Well, the thing is like they're not processed and they're cooked in sunflower oil versus the other oils.
Yeah.
So it's like you're just kind of cutting them, cooking them, and then adding salt on top, and that's all it is. It's not like McDonald's fries where you got those like
so Five Guys does the same thing in peanut oil, right, or whatever, but
yeah, they're a little bit different. I feel like they're a little bit more seasoned. These ones are just more like cardboardy type, like I don't know, harder.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't even know. So I don't even know where In-N-Out is. Like I don't know how far east they are.
I don't know.
Because I know there's none here in Pennsylvania, right? As far as I know, there's none here. Right? And I don't recall coming across it anywhere in the Midwest, even in Chicago. So it's one of those things where I would love to try it just because everybody talks the game. But yeah, I'm a Five Guys guy.
So it looks like it's predominantly California and into Nevada. It looks like it goes as far as Arizona.
Okay.
That's kind of the cutoff there. So,
right. Because I know it's Whataburger or Whataburger in Texas. They all have like these regionals, but I think Five Guys is actually the only one that's sort of national. I'm pretty sure they're national.
Now that there looks like there's some on this map. There's some in Texas, but I don't know if that's true or not. Because I know it's only really like the West Coast. Yeah. There might be like sporadic spots, but
so that's probably the reason. It's funny. I'm actually going to Arizona for our sales meeting in January. I'll be stuck at a hotel though, so there's probably no chance of me getting out to even try it. Maybe at the airport if I have time at the airport. Maybe I'll. Anyway, I want to intentionally try and eat one because any of my West Coast counterparts, they're always like, yeah, it's the best thing ever. I'm like, no, Five Guys has got to be better. There's just no way anything could be better than Five Guys.
West Coast has great food just across the board. I think East Coast also has fantastic food across the board too. The West Coast really hones down, I feel like, more on their like Hispanic foods like tacos, street food, that type of deal, and like maybe some seafood. I got something out there. It was like these like tuna tacos, but there's like long strips of tuna in the tacos. They're really delicious, but then you see on the menus a lot of the time it'll say like Philly cheesesteak, and I'm like, I just stay as far away from that shit as humanly possible. It's probably like a hamburger helper in like a thing. I just like always try to avoid that. I'm like, some things are just like not for recreation, and I think that's one of them. Is like you can't just call it.
We've probably talked about this before too. I live in Philly, and I wouldn't even get a Philly cheesesteak in Philly because that's I don't know. It's been so abused at this point. It's not even funny.
Yeah, I think one of the better places for a cheesesteak, and I don't know if we have talked about this, is called John's Roast Pork. It's funny enough, they have one of the best cheesesteaks I've ever had. It's in South Philly. Mm-hmm. You've been there?
Not recently, but yes.
Yeah, they're really good. And then there's one, I never had it. I see it on all the charts of like top 10 best cheesesteaks in Philly, and it's like always number 1 or 2. And that's Angelo's, it's called. Relatively newer spot. And I feel like that's the thing though. It's like you get all these like super popular spots that are like, this is the best cheesesteak in Philly. This is the best cheesesteak in Philly. They get like long lines around the block, and then another shop will pop open that like not a lot of people are going to. The new best cheesesteak in Philly, and it kind of just goes in waves. Because like at one point, like, so I'm sure people would say that about where we went. Tony Luke's under the bridge. That one where it's
the original.
You know, it's like everywhere has that like spot, and then it just gets super oversaturated. So it just goes in and out of phases. But
yeah, it happens.
It does happen. There is one spot that just came out, and this is another thing off topic. It's called a Sod's Chicken in Philly. Oh my God, they're so good. We went there. We literally just took an hour trip just for this chicken. It was so worth it.
Wait, is this like a chain thing or a local?
No, it's a chain thing. They have one in Pottstown, I think one in Philly.
And local chain.
Local chain, right? And it's called a Sod's Chicken. Huh. Really good. Look into it. It's like Chick-fil-A but on steroids.
Yeah, it's funny because I have a couple counterparts that talk about. I think it's Culver's in the Midwest, which is like this chicken place that they're all like, "Oh, Culver's is like the best place." I think it's Culver's. So there's a million of these like regional and
super popular
semi-national fast food places that all get rants and raves, and generally they're all pretty decent. I mean, it's so much better than just the McDonald's bullshit. I don't even know how McDonald's is still in business, to be honest with you.
Because they own the land.
I get it, but I mean, who the fuck goes to McDonald's anymore?
A lot of people, bro. The lines are always long when I'm driving by them. They're always having like at least 5 cars in the block.
I know. It's. But I guess it's a convenience. It's kind of like who the fuck goes to get coffee at Starbucks, right? Me, right? This guy, because again, they're on every freaking corner. You don't have to look for it. So maybe that's the reason. Because obviously, I'm thinking, even Five Guys isn't easy to find, right? The closest one around here is
like King of Prussia or something.
Closest one here is probably down in Britain Lake now, or not Britain. Glen Mills.
Glen Mills, yeah.
That's they just opened it though, so that's relatively new. Otherwise, you had to go to Lancaster or
what's that? We have to go where?
Lancaster, Lancaster. Jesus Christ! It's like what I call Chipotle.
Yeah.
It becomes I start to do it wrong because everybody
unironically
Chipotle, and what was the other one? Ida also
used to say Yeezy.
Yeah, no, God, it was Chipotle, and there was one other one that I always say wrong, but I do it intentionally now. Anyway,
if you think about it, let us know.
Yeah, so maybe that's the reason why McDonald's is so popular, because you don't have to look for it. But man, it's awful.
I know,
just awful.
And kind of going back to the thing, I guess this kind of ties back in with traveling. Now that you've been a veteran of it for so long, it's just like, when you want to be in those in and out modes, or like not the restaurant, but just in and out of a place that you're traveling to, I find myself like ordering pickup, taking it back to the hotel, just eating in the hotel, and then falling asleep. And then that's kind of like, I don't feel like doing a damn thing because I'm just so exhausted. Got off a 6-hour flight, just went to work, drove an hour to the destination where I'm working. I'm like, it's, over there, the time's backwards. You're just like, I don't feel like doing anything.
It's weird you say that because, if I'm traveling, and if I am traveling with people, or I have obviously, meetings, dinner meetings or whatever, or lunch meetings, it's typically to the nines, right? It's like going to some restaurant, ordering a menu, having glasses of wine, blah, 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 right? If it's just me and I don't have like a dinner commitment, my go-to, depending on where I'm at, if I'm in like Chicago, I'm going to an Amazon Fresh.
Oh, yeah.
And I am just getting some protein bars and snacks, stuff like that. And I'm out and I'm doing what you're doing. I'm eating in the hotel room and just catching up on work, or just surfing the web, or watching videos, or whatever the hell it is.
1000%.
And even like for me, like, an extreme thing is I'll try and find 5 Guys and just grab a burger and that's it. I'm done, right? But only if it's close by. Or I'm going to a gas station and just doing the same thing. I'm just getting some Gatorade and some
calling it quits.
Yeah.
That's literally it. And it's funny because like I've had both extremes. So like when we were 2 weeks ago, when I brought Taylor along, so it was a little bit more of like a workcation thing where it was like 3 days. We like stretched and like crammed something to do in every single minute of the day.
Yep.
And we were like going to vineyards and like learning about the shit. And I'm like going to work, and it was like That's like the complete opposite. If I was just by if I'm by myself, I'm just like you said, man, just locking myself in the room.
So I think what you're quickly discovering is the life of a traveling salesperson is you become very quickly a social chameleon.
Yeah.
So you have your own vibe, which is typically you just hunker down and just get it over with, right? Yeah. But you have to also, if you're with other people or you're interacting with things, you got to go with the flow, right? And if the flow is, let's go to dinner, let's go wherever, you just end up doing it. So it's funny you say that because I'm the same way.
Yeah, they were talking about going when we were in Charlotte a couple weeks ago. They were talking about like going out to get barbecue and all that stuff. And the guy I went out there with, he was kind of just. He's like you. He's been traveling a lot, doing the whole thing. He's like, I don't care if we go or don't go. I was like, dude, you make the decision. I'm not gonna go. He's like, well, you're new, so he's like, we'll go. And it's, I think I don't even remember. Like, my days are blending all together, and I'm kind of trying to get on track. I don't know if we talked about this the last time or not. It was just like funny because like everyone's like super awkward and uncomfortable at first, and then you find that one thing and it ended up being guns that we were talking about, and it was just like, oh, we all love it, and then everyone kind of like loosens up a little bit more. I could have perfectly been fine going to the hotel that night and then calling it a day. But then, like, you go out and you're like, that wasn't as bad as I kind of was, like, anticipating it to be. And I'm sure there's probably the other side where you, like, think it's going to be like, oh, these people are somewhat decent when you talk to them for a couple minutes. Then you go out for dinner and you're, like, kind of stuck there for, an hour. And you're like, I want to get the hell out of here.
I mean, you run into that all the time, right? That's the social chameleon thing. You just got to... You got to find something with everybody. Now, I mean, anybody who's listening to this is going, oh, that son of a bitch isn't real to me. And it's not really true. Yeah. But, I mean, you just, I don't know. I'm one of those guys who, when I'm out with people, if they're like, yeah, it's 6 o'clock, and they're like, yeah, I'm going to go back to my room, and I got to call my kids, and I'm just going to grab something in there. I'm like, fine, not a problem. I have no issues with it. Right, if that same group of people go, let's go out and party until 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm typically the guy that's there until 3 o'clock in the morning, right?
Is that right? Yeah.
And I can do everything in between. I don't, obviously the older you get, the less you enjoy that 3 o'clock in the morning shit.
Call me old, but I'm not doing that bullshit.
if that's the rage and that's what everybody's doing, I'm typically there. The good thing is though, I have been trying desperately to sort of throttle back on the drinking, so it becomes more of a
going out
just me watching others, just watching and laughing my ass off because it turns into a shit show typically. But
that's the story of my life, man. That's the story of my life. I get it. So, yeah, that was kind of my rant for that type of stuff. You've obviously been seasoned at it, and I started to get to like. People are like, oh, well, you're so lucky you get to go out. And I fortunate enough to go, like, see these places, but it's not everybody, all it cracks up.
Everybody, so even to this day, Edith still thinks that, like, traveling is fun. And I'm like, it's not. It's not.
It's not fun when your bag gets...
fun. She's like, you're always out eating at these really cool places and texting me pictures of the menus and the food. And I'm like, well, yeah, there are those moments, right? But... let me tell you, it's a pain in the ass lugging your shit through a freaking airport. It's
and then
not
your
all.
Bag gets stuck on check 2 when you're supposed to get check 3, and then you gotta wait for.
Or even worse, your flight gets canceled and you're sleeping underneath a bench.
You've done that before
at the airport. Yeah, I mean it hasn't happened a lot, but I mean
sure. That's some intense stuff. I am not looking for.
It's really funny. I think the only time that I've ever really slept at the airport like overnight is at Chicago O'Hare. That's the only. I think I've done it twice, and the only reason I did it is because it was one of those situations where by the time they actually canceled the flight, it was like 2 o'clock in the morning, and you're not. It's almost impossible to find a hotel room at that point. So you just and they for me because I have status, they usually rebook me the 6 a.m. flight. So it sucks, but it's like okay, it's like 4 hours, and I just cop a squat someplace and call it a day.
I know you're a loyalist to South American, right? So you don't do anything besides American?
I don't do anything but American.
So you'll take a layover to stay on American?
Well, I don't really have that issue because...
Oh, well, you're doing the East, right? Mostly? So?
Yeah. Everywhere I fly is direct, pretty much.
Yeah. See, I'm having a tough problem with that right now. It's like I'm changing airlines every single trip because It's like one day like the 1 week I'm going to Seattle, which is like Alaskan. And
I mean, the problem is, if you'll find out, right? If you want to get status where you secure yourself a very early boarding spot, so you never have to check your bag and deal with that shit you just experienced, right? You got to commit to one line, and you have to just airline, and you have to work hard to get to the levels, right? So I mean, I have platinum level with American, which in itself is kind of crazy because there's like 3 other levels above that.
Oh wow!
And I travel a shit ton, and I don't take advantage. I mean, you got to like learn all the ins and outs where you get their credit card, and you buy all that shit, and then the next thing you know, you get status that way. So there's a bunch of tricks that even I don't take full advantage of, but you have to commit to one. That way, I've got status, and that way, if the flight cancels, they automatically rebook me.
You have like
if I want to go standby, it's based on your priority on your thing. So if I go standby, and I usually get a seat where
standby.
Like if I have, like, say I'm on an 8 o'clock at night flight, but my meeting ends early, and I get to the airport at 5 o'clock, and there's a 6 o'clock flight. If they have any open seats, I can go standby, and then they board everybody. But then if there's some extra seats, I get on that flight. They'll move me up early without you
even have to call or anything like that.
Right.
Cool. Yeah, I didn't call.
But if you don't have status, it's funny. If you walk up, the first thing they ask you is, what's your status level, right?
Really?
Oh, platinum. Oh, okay, we'll put you on the list.
That's cool.
Because if you don't, they'll be like, yeah, you're never going to get on this flight ever, period. Because, there's typically 1 or 2 open seats if there are, depending on where you're going.
Sure.
But yeah, you'll learn that you
need to commit to one thing, kind of.
It helps to commit to one.
Well, that's what I did with my
especially
hotels.
if you travel a lot. I mean, you'll learn very quickly that if you travel a lot, you'll live and die by status, and it gets to the point where if for some reason, like, I don't have status, like if it's not that I have never flown on another flight. Like I flew Delta.
That's what I usually. That's my
I had to fly Delta from Detroit to Chicago. It was like there was one leg where it would have really been a pain in the ass. Like, we were going to Pittsburgh, so it was one of those ones where Delta from Detroit had a direct to Pittsburgh, or we were going from Pittsburgh, whatever it was. It was one of the directions, and to fly American, I would have had to have gone from like Pittsburgh to Philly, Philly to Detroit, and it was like 6 hours, right?
Yeah.
Where they had a direct that was 30 minutes, right? And I'm like, okay, well, there comes a time when
you have to break that
even
rule.
I have to say enough's enough. So I did that. And it was so funny because I remember getting the boarding pass. Then you're talking about numbers and stuff.
Yeah.
And it goes, your boarding pass is, your boarding zone is 2. And I'm thinking American, which is 1 through 9, right? And I'm usually 3. So I'm like, whoa, what the hell happened here? Like, maybe it's because I booked it through our corporate, whatever.
Yeah.
So we're there, and I remember them calling the boarding passes, and I'm thinking, zone 2, this is perfect, right?
You think you're up at the front.
But they go, it was funny. Like, Deltas is all these, like, diamond, it was like diamond, ruby, emerald, sapphire, those with, one leg, tie behind your back. Oh, zone 1, which actually was like zone 8, right? Zone 2, which was like the back of the bus. And I was laughing because I was like, here I am thinking I'm going to have no problems getting on this flight, and only to realize that
you're ahead, but
their zone 2 is like zone 9 on American.
Yeah, that's so funny. I am a Delta guy, I think, because I liked all this stuff. I flew.
Well, I mean, if you're flying out of Philly,
like
I don't know how you can fly anything but American. I mean, because Delta, you're probably always going to have to go to Detroit or Salt Lake City, and then change flights.
So that's my thing. Is I'm not a loyalist to anything. I am to Delta because when I have like a common place I'm going to, like I forget off the top of my head where I was. It was like Minnesota was one of them.
Well, you flew to like Buffalo, right?
No, I didn't fly to Buffalo. But a couple of those like places where it's like United, I'll go United. But I'm not a loyalist to anything unless I'm just a loyalist to nonstop. I'd like nonstop flights. I'm not trying to wait an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, because even when I was on the phone and I got done work, I was ready to fly into California, do my work, and fly out because I saw there was a time available for a flight.
Yeah.
It said 1 hour delay or 2 hour delay in Denver or something like that. And I was like, no, I'll just get in my hotel, fall asleep, wake up, and then be at the airport. Another thing, transitioning away from the airport nonsense, well, kind of involved nonsense. People on the West Coast are just always laid back. No one's in a rush any place.
I don't know if that's
talking
really
a conversation with somebody. Like, I'm in UPS sending my equipment back to the office, and there's two stewardess, and then there's 3 people in front of me. And